Mr. Andile, how are you, sir?
I'm good, and you?
I'm good, thanks. Can you please share with us some of your thoughts on the new Agang political party that has been established by Dr. Mngxitama?
The big problem, I think, is that Agang is not any different from the existing parties. Its sort of ideological orientation, its policies, the little we have seen, are exactly neoliberal, neo-colonial, and ultimately in defense of white capital. All Agang want to do, in my view, is to use the same neo-colonial state to do what the ANC is doing, but only more efficiently. So, for instance, the attack on corruption is a very limited, superficial one. It is not the attack on corruption as appropriation of wealth by the capitalist system legally from the majority to appropriate to give to an elite. It is only about this small corruption that happened within the state, and this is the problem. Of course, it is bad that President Zuma builds his house and so on, but if you don't understand that the very nature of our democracy of 1994, it is based on a corrupt ethic. Democracy is about a few guys we elect into power. They use that power to serve themselves and defend privilege. So her party does not deal with these big questions of the historical injustice against black people, of the democratization of the economy, the destruction of white capital so that we can have a new society. So for me, it's unfortunate because I see her party is the same as the ANC. They belong to the same ideological trajectory. It's the same as the DA. There's nothing new, in other words, new about Agang.
Okay, thanks a lot. Dr. Mngxitama wouldn't necessarily think that her party is within the same ideological lines with the ANC. In your view, would you say the well-respected academic cannot bring something new to the South African nation?
Well, she must say what is new. There's nothing she has said. But not only this, if you see EFF politics working for the World Bank, her stint as the Vice Chancellor at UCT, now but being chairpersons of this massive conglomerates which oppress and kill black people. I mean, what is new about this? I mean, we cannot make assumptions about her being... In fact, I think, to be fair, she is incapable of bringing anything new. She operates within neo-colonial and neoliberal strictures of thinking, of practice, and of thought. So, and I don't think it's an unjust, assessment. We need something seriously new. We need something radical on the left. We need something pro-black. We need something that focuses black people's interests and is not afraid to say this country is a black majority country, but this black majority has been sold out by the ANC in the service of white capital. She's not able to do this. So what is new? I'm sorry. There's very little new.
Okay, there's an article, the piece written by David Munyai. It appeared on the March issue of Indwe. He says there's a need for another Robert Sobukwe. What's in your view? What's your comment on his statement?
Obviously, we need a radical black consciousness Pan-Africanist movement. Not Sobukwe, not Biko. A new 21st century black consciousness, radical Pan-Africanist possibility. Influenced by Sobukwe and Biko in particular, because the ANC Mandela's project has failed us. 20 years of the ANC integrationist, non-racialism, attempt to do a rainbow nation has failed us. The ideas that has not been tested, and I believe the most correct ideas are the ideas of Steve Biko and Robert Sobukwe. Of course, we must work them to answer our question today. And that's why I'm so interested in movements such as the September National Imbizo, which I'm part of, where we call ourselves Black Power Pan-Africanists. We take Sobukwe's ideas, Steve Biko's ideas, and Thomas Sangara's idea, because he, unlike these two, was able to use the state to serve the interests of the people, not the interests of an elite.
Okay, Mr. Andile, one more thing. It has been well documented that Ethiopianism played a very, very critical role in the establishment of the struggle against white supremacy in South Africa and gave birth to African nationalism. In your view, what do you think is the role that's supposed to be played by African intellectuals in reviving, you know, those philosophies that gave birth to African nationalism?
We need to question everything when we need to update everything. I mean, some of these ideas are very solid. We need to work on them, but they are outdated, some of them. In the contemporary, for instance, you can't talk about change without going back to slavery, but not only this, also talking about freedoms which, for instance, sexual orientation and so on. Now, today we must bring all this into our fight against white supremacy and capitalism, so that freedoms are maximized instead of being, you know, limited. But along this, we also know something today by influence of Fanon and Biko and others, black existentialists. The key is not try to go back to Africa. The key is to reinvent the new black, the new African, and that means we have to decide what the values are, what is important for ourselves, and be these people. There is no going back to Africa. That Africa is destroyed. It's no more.
Okay, Mr. Andile, what's your take? What's the role that's supposed to be played by African universities in the rebirth of the continent? Seeing that
we don't have any African universities. We don't have African universities. The universities in Africa is a colonial construct. It is there to reproduce and to produce neo-colonialists who are there to manage the same anti-black systems. So there's no African university. It must be reimagined, and it must not be an idea of a structure. It must be an idea of how we use and recreate ideas and popularize them amongst our people to give us life and to give us the possibility to fight for change. But no, please, parliament and university are two colonial anti-black constructs which are not going to serve our interests.
Okay, finally, Mr. Andile, what do you think should be the role of African Commission in terms of the development of the continent, given the fact that we
don't need a commission, we need a revolution, we need an African revolution. We need a black revolution. We need a revolution that recognizes the real traumatic experience of black people through slavery, the revolution that links us not just to the African continent, but to everywhere where black people are, a revolution that understands that today the world is anti-black globally, and that's how capitalism is organized and how the political system works. And so our organization for change, our attempt for change is not just us, those in Africa, but black people everywhere on earth. And this is the new revolution that we must work for, we must think, we must dream about and commit ourselves towards. So this idea of commissions here and there, I mean, like this African Union and so on, these are colonial things. We must destroy all those. Thank you.
Okay, thanks a lot. Thank you.